Alright guys, welcome to RC Mojo. This week we're going to be getting ahead of ourselves a little with a new build, or at least the first part of one. So here we have an SCX10 III kit. I was planning to collect up some more bits and upgrades before we start the build, so it would be ready for the Southern Scale Trail in September. But last week I had some dental troubles and was a bit preoccupied with my tooth being quite painful. So rather than doing some more upgrades to the FTX Mauler, let's have a look at what you get in the box with an SCX10 III. Actually, let's start with what's on the box, as I always like a well decorated box. It reminds me of picking the boxes off the shelves in the model shops to look at the pictures. On the side we've got some headline features, the nice wheel wells all round, the portals, adjustable wheelbase and the funky engine shaped motor cover. On the other side, which is upside down, we've got the tyres and suspension links, all nicely presented. On this end we've got the dimensions, showing it's a typical 313mm wheelbase, which is nice. It means with a little bit of fiddling there's going to be a nice wide choice of other shells that you can make fit. On the back there's some nice pictures of the gear train and lots of text, but I think I was getting a bit excited to open the box and completely forgot to film it. Suffice to say, if we were still pre-internet, the box would do a really good job of selling the kit. These days, of course, you'd already have researched online and know every little detail. In the box then, we see the body taking up most of the space, with lots of bags surrounding it and under it, all rather tightly packed. Next then we'll move the camera and have a look at everything. We won't open the bags as they're very carefully numbered for the build, but we can look in and see what's what. First out then is bag C. Looks like we've got the gearbox bits here. There's lots of bearings and what looks like a slipper clutch part. It looks like quite a small clutch, but as long as the spring's nice and stiff it should work okay. On the other side we can see the metal motor mount with lots of holes for setting the motor position. Next up is bag F, which looks like it contains the plastic chassis parts. I can see cross members in there, as well as the side plates or rock sliders with the electronics mount. We've also got the two metal steering servo arms. I'd guess one will be for Futaba spline servos and the other for some other servo. It's nice that they include them, as it should be a straight fit with no worries about clearances. Bag J, and lots of body parts. We've got the cage that lives under the shell, there's some light buckets in there too, and on the other side we've got the driver's head with a choice of cowboy hat or baseball cap, which is rather neat. It's nice to have a choice. Here's bag H, which has the arch liners for the chassis. Now, having run a TRX4 with and without, it's amazing just how much cleaner they keep the chassis. Even if you're only driving on trails, they keep all the leaves and general rubbish out. I can see parts of the motor cover in there too. I'm not sure if I should paint up the engine just yet. I think it would be neat with a red block and some other highlights. Next is the main part of the shell, which is fully pre-cut, which is very nice. As much as I like trimming bodies and painting them, bodies like this with loads of bolt-on parts do need some extreme care. This way everyone can manage a well-finished body. Bag I, and the wheels and tyres, which in pictures look huge, but I was wondering how they compare to the Land Rover TRX4. So here we have a tyre from a Land Rover TRX4, and much to my surprise they're not all that much different. It must be a bit of an optical illusion with the smaller Jeep body. Bag E, and we have the drive/prop shafts with the CV ends. Now I should think these will last quite well. The key is to flush the dirt and grit out regularly so they don't get ground down. In bag G we have the small battery tray I think, and the optional receiver box. Now it's great that they don't just mould the receiver box into the tray. That way if your receiver is a bit big there's no problem. Very nice. Bag D, or the D bag if you will, we have the suspension links which feel really hefty. I'm guessing they're steel rather than aluminium, so they won't be giving way anytime soon. Also we have a full set of metal balls. Here we have bag B, which has lots of damper parts. We've got the springs, shafts and oddly 35 weight silicone oil in tubes. I'm sure they're going to work just fine though. Now this I like, super lightweight, and once painted will really make the truck look neat in videos. It's always a bit strange when there's no one driving. Painting it might be interesting though. We'll want to paint the outside so we can detail the driver with some Tamiya brush paint. This bag's quite neat, it's labelled spare parts and has a set of additional body mounts and some other bits. A very welcome inclusion if you're going to run other bodies. Bag K with the chassis rails in. Now each side comes in two sections because they're of course adjustable. They're also rather weighty, so most likely steel rather than aluminium, just like the Lynx. This one's Bag A, which has the axles in. Now they're essentially one piece, which I'm a huge fan of. It's far easier to keep the water out than when they're split into two. We'll just need to smear a little bit of silicone grease around the diff cover and the portals, and it will be good for a good long time. So that's all the parts. Next we have the paperwork. First out is the shiny stickers for the wing mirrors, very nice. But I found on Banggood you can get plastic inserts that aren't quite so hall of mirrors, so we might have to use a set of those instead. We've got a little card from Horizon which says we're going to get some stickers if we register, but it's US only, so completely useless to me. These are the interior stickers. Now we'll probably use some of them like the dials and centre console, but I think we're going to paint the seats. This one has lots of detail decals, the hinges, corner lights and whatnot. They're all kiss cut, so if you want a quick job they'll just peel straight off. Another sheet with the window surrounds, including window tint, which is rather nice. I do wish they hadn't branded them though. This is going to make it a right pain. I'd much rather the branding was separate so you could choose. I think we might try and trim the inside of the windows and use some spray tint instead. It'll be a game, but worth it for some appropriate sponsors. Another nice thing, pre-cut window masks. Unfortunately it's really hard to see where the edges are, so we'll have to take some extra care when applying them. Still, it's really nice to have. And lastly we have the manual. Now it's a really nice manual, thick glossy paper, it's more like a small book. The diagrams aren't quite as good as the better Tamiya manuals, but they're really rather close. And well, that's what you get in the box. There's loads of parts to play with this one. It might be a bit over complex for some who like a simple chassis, but if you like lots of bits to fiddle around with, it looks ideal. Now to get the truck running, you're going to need some other bits too. But because this video's moved up the schedule a bit, I don't have all the bits yet, but I do have a couple. First, you're going to need a motor. Here I've got a Surpass Hobby 5-slot 16-turn 540. Now I'm not sure how good it's going to be, but I've wanted to try one for a while and this seems like a perfectly good excuse. I should think we're going to end up with a Holmes Hobby 550 motor of some kind before long though. For the ESC we have a Hobby Wing 1080. I got loads of these in service now and all work extremely well. When you want a bit more than your basic crawler setup, it's ideal, and at around 40 quid it isn't going to break the bank. If you're in the UK, make sure you buy one from a proper model shop and not some random eBay seller. There's lots of fakes around and they can cause issues with fire and smoke. Over here, Schumacher is the distributor, so you should find their stickers on the box under the plastic and on the ESC itself. If not, you've either got yourself a grey import or it's a dodgy fake. Just be careful. On top of that, we're also going to need a radio. I'm going to use a modified FlySky GT3C for 8 channels so we can run steering, throttle, the 2-speed and dig via a 6-channel receiver, leaving a couple of channels free for controlling lights. If you're not into fiddling with radios, something like a FlySky GT5 should do the trick out of the box. There's also the battery. Now you can get a typical RC truck pack, 2S or 3S, in the large battery holder, or a shorty pack in the mid-mounted small mount. Now I'm not sure of the dimensions just yet, so we'll have to wait and see what fits when we get to the build. And of course you're going to need some paint, a special Lexan paint for the bulk of it, and probably a couple of jars of Tamiya paint for the driver's head and other details, depending on how much effort you want to put into the build. For tools, you're going to want a set of Allen drivers, nut drivers, pliers and cutters. All the usual suspects really, and I'd probably add a set of tweezers in there too. If you go to the Axial site and look up SCX10 III kit, you can download the manual as a PDF and go through it. This probably isn't ideal for a first time build, so I'd always recommend a Tamiya for that. Otherwise, it all looks rather excellent. I really can't wait to get started now. We'll have to wait and see if I can get all the other bits ready first though. The trouble is, once the box is open, it's extremely tempting to start anyway. Right, so that's it for this week then. As always, thanks for watching, like if you liked, subscribe if you haven't, and leave a comment if there's something on your mind. Bye guys!